Hello everyone, this is Andrew at Crown Academy of English. Today we are doing a lesson on modal verbs of probability in the present. So those are words like must, could and might. So let's start the lesson. So here is a friend of mine who is called Jane. Now Jane, as you can see, she's talking to somebody on the telephone. She is making a telephone call. And in fact, she's speaking to her friend called Sarah. Okay? So Jane is talking to Sarah, and Jane is giving advice to Sarah. Okay? But we can only hear what Jane is saying. We cannot hear what Sarah is saying. So this is what Jane is saying to Sarah. Sarah, listen to me. You have to try to forget about this man. You live in Manchester and he lives in London. It is too far and your lives are so different. Stop listening to his songs because that will make you sad. You must try to make some friends. You have a difficult job working at the hospital, so try to rest on the train before work. For the pain, take an aspirin. Okay, so as you can see, Jane is talking to Sarah and is giving Sarah some advice. So, what do we know about Sarah? Well, we know a few things now. Sarah must be in love with the singer. So how do we know that Sarah must be in love with the singer? Well, we know that because Jane is saying that she must forget about this man, and she also says stop listening to his songs because that will make you sad. Alright? So we have proof, we have facts, so that we know that Sarah must be in love with the singer. Okay? We can be sure. Now, we can also say Sarah could be a doctor or nurse. Okay? So we say could. And this is because Jane says to Sarah, you have a difficult job working at the hospital. Okay? Working at the hospital. So we cannot be sure that Sarah is a doctor or a nurse. We only know that she works at the hospital. So since we are not sure, we say could. Sarah could be a doctor or a nurse. Sarah might have a headache. Well, look at this last sentence. Jane says, for the pain, take an aspirin. So we know Sarah has a pain, but we do not know what type of pain, but it is possible it is a headache. It might be a toothache as well. We are not sure. Since we are not sure, we say might. Sarah might have a headache. And in the negative, we can say Sarah can't have many friends. Okay? Now we know this because Jane says you must try to make some friends. So we know Sarah doesn't have many friends, doesn't have any friends. We can be sure. So since we are sure, and since this is the negative, we say can't. Sarah might not have a car. All right? It is possible she has a car. It is possible she does not have a car. Because we know that Sarah takes the train to go to work. But we cannot be sure Sarah does not have a car. So, because we are not sure, and because this is the negative, we say Sarah might not have a car. Okay? So, all of these words in red, these are all modal verbs. Okay? So we have must, could, and might. These are the three modal verbs for probability in the affirmative. And must is when we are very sure. Could is when we are quite sure, but not very sure. And might is when we are not sure at all. Okay, so this is the order of certainty. Okay, so the arrow, the top of the arrow, must is when we are very sure, and might we are not sure. And in the negative, then we have can't and might not. And when we are very sure, we use can't, and when we are not very sure, we use might not. So in the negative, this is the order of how sure we are. Okay? So that is why these are called the modal verbs of probability, because they express the degree of probability. Okay? So here, Sarah must be in love. We are certain. We know she is in love with the singer, so we say must be. But here, we are not sure at all if she has a headache, so we say might. Okay, so let's just look at the form or structure. So here is our example again. Sarah could be a doctor or a nurse. And so the structure is we have the subject followed by the modal verb, then followed by the verb, and the verb is in the infinitive form. So here Sarah is the subject, could is the modal verb, and be is the verb in the infinitive form. And like we said earlier, the meaning, so this means I think it is possible that Sarah is a doctor or nurse. Okay? And if we think it is very possible, we use must. If we think it is quite possible, we use could. And if we think it is not very possible, we use might. Okay? And in the negative, we use can't and might not. Okay, so let's finish with some exercises. So I would like you to respond to the statements or questions using the words in brackets. Example: I haven't slept for 2 days. So that is the statement. The statement is I haven't slept for 2 days, and I want you to reply or to respond to that using these two words, must and tired. So the answer to the example would be, you must be tired. Okay? We are certain. Somebody who hasn't slept for 2 days, we can be certain, we are certain that they are tired. So we say, you must be tired. Question 1. My parents have a very old car. So I'll give you just a few more seconds to think. Okay, so the answer to this one would be, they can't have much money. Okay, so this is the negative, and we are quite sure that they don't have much money. Okay, they can't have much money. We are pretty sure that they don't have much money, so we say can't. Question 2. David has lost his dog. And the answer to this one, he could be in the garden. Okay, so we are not certain. We are fairly certain that the dog is in the garden, so we say he could be in the garden. Question 3. Paul has wet hair. And the answer here is, it must be raining. Okay, Paul has wet hair. He has just come inside. We are certain that it is raining, so we say it must be raining. Question 4. Michael and Simon are always arguing. And the answer to this question is, they can't be friends. Okay, so again, we have proof. We can be certain because we can see that Michael and Simon are always arguing. So we can be certain that they are not friends. And this is the negative. So we say they can't be friends. Okay? So that is the last question in the exercise. And that is the end of the lesson on modal verbs of probability. So as always, if you would like to subscribe, then go ahead and click here on the subscribe button. Here is my Twitter account if you would like to follow me on Twitter. And here are 2 other of my videos which you might be interested in. This one is a listening exercise, a listening lesson, and this one is another grammar lesson on the future simple tense. Okay, so my name is Andrew at Crown Academy of English. Thank you very much for watching. Please leave a comment. Please leave a comment below the video. Okay, and thank you for watching. I will see you next time. Bye bye.